Hi everybody, I'm Melissa Sorrentino. This is the Improv Sophisticate, where we talk about improv as well as life itself. Improv is a huge part of what living is all about. And of course, if you're doing improv on stage, please bring some life into it. Yeah, bring some life into it. Bring some life into your improv. Okay, so today's topic is going to be about doing it anyway. Doing it anyway. Doing it afraid. Doing it insecure. Doing it imperfect. Like, did you hear how I said bling accidentally? Oh my God, how embarrassing was that? I was trying to say bring and I said bling. But if you're in an improv scene, that is called a blessing. That is a gift that just fell to the stage like an ethereal magic dust. And now we have to do something with it, like come up with something cute, like say, bling your improv, which, was kind of stupid. I don't know, maybe I should just quit. Should I just quit? Should I just stop even trying to do this stupid channel? Should I just crawl into bed and put my covers over my head again? Should I hit snooze again? Because I watched that Mel Robbins thing like 100 freaking times and I still can't do the 5, 4, 3, 2 fucking 1 and get up out of bed. No, that's not true. I am actually getting pretty good at it. Okay, gosh, I have to do a video about waking up to the alarm. I have a genius thing and it totally works. Not always, but seriously, most of the time. Doing it anyway. We need to do things anyway. I know this from a very sad life story of having a pretty long era of not doing things anyway. And you know what? No good came from it. None. No good came from it. In fact, in my entire life, the only things that have really worked for me is when I go back to when I was like in my teenage and early 20s, and I just knew some things, like deep down in my spirit, whatever, in here, I knew certain things, and I really followed like the nudges of the instincts, and I was actually right, because here I am, and I'm, at some location within the vicinity of my 40s. And all I've learned really mostly is to go back and just be a beginner again. That is one of the bullet points I want to bring up. Be a beginner again. When you're a beginner, see, I used to love temping, and I had this little thing I would always say to people. I'd say, temping is awesome. And they'd be like, people that actually worked at the places would be like, isn't it stressful to be temping all the time? And I was always like, God, no, it's easy, because when I show up, I'm a beginner. So everyone gives you all kinds of room because you're a beginner, and you give yourself all kinds of room, or at least I did when I was a beginner. And then you're also kind of just about to leave. So it's like that couple weeks after you give notice for a job and you're like, what? I'm out of here soon. So I loved temping. If I end up having to get an hourly job at some point in my life, that's probably exactly what I'm going to do. And, I might even do it pretty soon, just because I also enjoy the, well, I'm not going to go on to why I like temping. That's ridiculous. But being a beginner is something apparently a lot of people don't like doing. I remember my ex-husband used to have, he wouldn't want to do things unless he really, really felt like very, very qualified. And there'd be some things that I was like, honey, you are like way qualified to do that. If anybody's qualified, you are. But he had this like philosophy that if he wasn't like the very be all end all in like the upper echelon of a thing, then he can't, he can't own a level of expertise that would cause him to be able to, maybe teach or get a job, like a higher end thing, like basically anything where he would put himself out there and say, I know this thing. And I think a lot of us struggle with that. I certainly do on certain levels too. You don't want to present a false persona. And that comes from a lovely place where we want to be honest people. We don't want to be liars. We don't want to pad our resume. You know, we don't want to bullshit. And we certainly, you know, we want to be authentic, don't we? Because if we're not authentic, then my God, then you have this like facade that you actually have to maintain. And that's exhausting. There's actually even a term for this that I'm pretty sure it's called imposter syndrome. Have you ever heard of that term? Where, you know, it's like the fear of being called out on being an imposter actually keeps you from doing something. And I'm not a mother, although I wish I was, but I'm not a mom. But I've talked to a lot of mothers, especially young mothers, who like, they're not owning their motherhood yet, and they feel like they're like fake. They're like, you know, like when I have like intimate conversations with certain people, one in particular, I remember she's like crying, and she's like, oh my God, I just feel like I'm not a mom. What am I doing? And I was like, you have a child that you're raising, so you're a mom. So just own that, you know, and once you own that, all of a sudden your confidence level, and then if you realize, kids, these grown-ups out here, they're all just kind of faking it too. We all are. What are we? We're blobby organisms that come out of another blobby organism and show up on this planet and have to make something out of our lives. And we don't know what the hell we're doing. None of us do. And, you know, it's funny because you have to get to a level of saying, of having a confidence level to be able to stand up and declare, world, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, and I'm not afraid of that. And when you reach that level, it is very freeing. So improv itself is a wonderful, wonderful art form because you're already introducing yourself and saying, hi, everybody, I'm on a stage and I don't know what I'm going to do tonight. Now, if you embrace that freedom, that is going to absolutely eradicate your fear. What fear could you possibly have when there's an audience and they're sitting there watching you make something up right on the spot? They're already giving you a ton of credit. So it's kind of like that temping thing, you know, you're a beginner. Every time you hop on stage as an improv actor, you are automatically a beginner. So you get to be a doofus, you get to have no clue about what's going on, you get to enjoy that youthful cluelessness, and the audience gets to enjoy it with you. And that's, you know, that's one of the beautiful things about improv. I mean, duh, what the hell else is it? So that fear of being called out as an imposter, let's just drop that. You are a human being, and therefore you're not an imposter. And if you lied about who you are, if you lied about your credentials, of course, then you know what? You're going to feel stupid. So, second bullet point, don't lie. Just don't lie. I'm not saying go out there and set the bar extra low so you're like a cheat, you know, ringer everywhere you show up, although that technique does work nicely on occasion. I mean, you know, in the movie like The Hustler, right? But, you know, don't con people about and say you're inexperienced, but you don't have to lead with your resume everywhere you go. Just show up and let your thing, you know, let your instrument present what it is and let people go, oh, okay, I am the person watching this other person, and I'm going to make a conclusion on my own about whether or not I think this person is a master or a green belt or a white belt. You know, you're going to just have to acquiesce to the fact that, you know, the acceptance that other people are always fucking judging. And the most judgmental people in the world are also the ones that are way too chicken shit to put their ass on the line. Believe you me, every time. If somebody is super judgmental, odds are they're judging something they've never even freaking done. So it's like, who are you to judge me? You know what? Oh my goodness. And watch my video that I did earlier called Do Unto Others. And I talk a little bit more about that with like, I don't know, there's an example or two that I think are, you know, I think these are really important concepts because These are the things, my darlings, that hold people back from living their lives. Living their lives. And I know I'm like trying to make a YouTube channel and I'm trying to like be cool and all this sort of thing for my own world, but this is keeping me authentic. I want to show you guys who I am. I want to show myself who I am. I want to be who I am. So do things afraid. Do things as a beginner rather than trying to think of yourself as a master. You're never going to feel like a master. You're always going to have at least a slight sense of imposter syndrome. And the thing is, it's like, okay, you're a beginner and you move to this level. And now you feel like an imposter because you're not at this level yet, you know? But you feel like an expert from here down. So what could you do? You could just stay here and be comfortable. You just stay right there and be comfortable. But at a certain point, something in you is going to be like, I want to go up here, you know? And you're always going to feel like an imposter. Because you're never going to fully be perfect. And your perception of perfection is going to also evolve. Oh my God. We have a goalpost that just fucking keeps on moving. And we can't get to it. So just embrace that. That's the journey, man. You hit that goalpost and it's... Okay, so apparently I am really having to learn my own lesson and practice what I preach because my capture ended. I'm going too long. I'm being too rambly. I'm getting off subject. Blah, blah, blah. And now I feel like I'm going to be a big fat asshole if I don't just keep bowling through. So I'm going to. So we talked about fear, and I want to say do it anyway. And here's how. Like, I know, Melissa, but how do you do it anyway when you have fear? Here's the trick. You do it while you feel the fear. You just continue to do it. Now, I'm taking this very lightly, but let's just bring it down for a second, kids. I truly have suffered from PTSD, like for reals. And I won't go all into the details of it, about why or anything personal, but I had anxiety to a level where I was afraid to go check my own mail. I lived in an apartment building. It was full of strangers and I was, scared. I can't really even put a finger on what it was, but the thing was, I had anxiety symptoms. My hands would sweat, they would shake, my whole body would tremble. I was so scared. I was like, my breathing would become shallow, my heart rate raised. I mean, I had symptoms like, the first time I had a panic attack, I thought I was having a heart attack. Anyone that's had a legit panic attack, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You literally think you're going to die. You really do. You think, oh my God, I'm having a heart attack. And then psychosomatically, you're like, I think my left arm is numb. And then you start going, well, I can't go check the mail because clearly my anxiety has just reached such a level that if I go check the mail, I could die from it. Or whatever the thing is, if I was afraid to check the mail, believe you me, I was afraid to drive my car. I was afraid to go buy groceries. I was just afraid. I was afraid to talk on the phone. Even as a kid, I was afraid to talk on the phone. So, as a grown up, what the hell do you do if you can't check your mail? You can't check the phone. You can't do anything. And I was like, oh, I guess I'm finished. There's nothing I can do. Well, cut to whatever, life, blah, 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 changes, different things that happen. But I have had an era in my life, and it wasn't even that long ago, where I had a job, and I was so scared to get a job. I was so scared to do the interview that I shook the whole way there. I shook and I cried and I shuddered and I couldn't breathe and I had to go in the bathroom and just really try to regroup. I was putting water on my face, trying to cool down. But I was just like, I have to. I'm dying. So I just focused on nothing except the next moment, which thank God I had this like improv history that I could pull that from, which is why I highly recommend it. I just was like, look, Melissa, if you can take one footstep, like literally put your foot here from the bathroom to where the job interview was. Okay, one more step, one more breath, one more step. And you just contain it to that moment. You just keep doing it. And I was like, yes, my body was shaking. Yes, my hands were shaking. Just a variety of symptoms. But the more I did that, the more I could do it. And look at me now. I'm practically fearless. And it's because I've gone through that. I go, what's the worst that it could get? I have been at the rock bottom, kids. I've seen what can happen when fear absolutely overtakes you. And I'm telling you, you just have to just keep going. You have to. You must. Because the alternative is to die. It really is. The alternative is to let yourself get so depressed and so down that you literally become suicidal. And the thought of ending your life is preferable to taking another step just to get to your own fucking mailbox. I am not exaggerating. When John F. Kennedy said there's nothing to fear but fear itself, or whoever originally first said it, it's true. Fear itself is the scariest thing that exists. And the irony is it doesn't exist. Where's fear? Where can I put fear in this mug? Is fear, where's fear? Do I have fear on the shelf? No, it's an intangible. And intangibles, of course, you could argue that there's a real reality to it. And if you argue that, how much more scary that you can use your mental vibrations to actually literally create a fucking monster? Fear! I'm gonna fucking kill you! I'm fear! So you see, I don't think that our primary fear is the fear of the unknown. I think our primary fear is also not the fear of anything. I really think the primary fear is fear itself. We are afraid of fear. It brings anxiety symptoms, and that makes us uncomfortable, but it also makes us very afraid that there's something wrong with us. If we feared the unknown, we wouldn't all be jazzed about something new. If we feared change, we wouldn't all be always like super excited about the next model of whatever gadget that we're into. We don't fear the unknown as humans. We love the unknown. We're curious creatures. We're fascinated by the unknown. But our trepidation comes when we're afraid that the unknown is going to be something that causes damage to us. Of course, we have a survival instinct. We don't want to get damaged because that is practical. So if we recognize what genuine damage is versus is sort of like just the intangible concept of damage, we can really get past it. So I think our biggest fear when we perform, or just as human beings, really just going out and venturing into the world, our biggest fears are that imposter syndrome thing that I talked about. I think we are very afraid of rejection, and I think we're afraid of our own imperfection. We're afraid of being called out on our own imperfections because we're afraid of embarrassment. Embarrassment is a physiologically uncomfortable emotion. So is the fear itself. So we are actually afraid to go through the discomfort of physiological, actual biological results of putting ourselves into situations that are uncomfortable. And it's because our brain is associating them with some level of survival. And that's why if you get those PTSD symptoms or depression, any psychological disorder, our fear is that it's actually going to become something that interferes with our survival. And the irony of it is that we're so afraid of that feeling, what it feels like, what it physically feels like, that we will actually, as human beings, that's where suicidal tendencies, in my opinion, come from, because it's such a fear that you're going to die that you're like, let me just get it over with now. At least then I'm in control of it. I'm so afraid that, what's the point of living anyway? Because I'm just so afraid of what's going to happen. I might as well just get it over with. It's inevitable. And I know I'm taking a humorous bent on that, but I don't take it lightly at all. I did work in the therapist community, so I have a lot of exposure to these types of things, and it's a very, very real thing. And our fear of perfectionism, we're not afraid of perfectionists. Our fear of lacking perfection is so visceral to us. So there's a flip that we can do in these things. I talked about regret versus rejection. That, I believe, is the answer to fearing rejection. If you fear rejection, you got to trump that with the regret. The regret should be a bigger fear than the rejection. So it's better to say, okay, I would rather live in the face of the possibility of rejection, because that's being alive, than to cower in fear and live in the regret that I spent my whole life in fear and I wasn't alive. Wouldn't you rather face momentary regrets and, some wins, some losses, than just, rejections, not regrets, than live in like an actual genuine feeling of regret that life passed you by and you missed it? That is a bigger fear to me than momentary rejections that take place along the way. And wouldn't I rather live imperfectly and authentically rather than try to maintain this like facade of being perfect? Because the more I try to present myself as perfect, the more I invest time in the hesitation towards perfection. That's a big ass investment. If I spent, 5 years studying YouTube videos before I wanted to post one, then that's 5 years of investment that I have to now equally meet with that level of perfection. I can't live that way. That's way too stressful. Now you could go the other way and just be like completely flippant about things, and then you're living in constant failure. You want to, up your ratio of success versus failure. But, I watched enough, I studied enough that I felt like I was ready to launch this. For me personally, that's probably a little bit more than a lot of people would do. But it's certainly less than people who still haven't done it yet, who are just like out researching the shit out of everything. So the longer you hesitate, the more behind you're getting. I'm more afraid of being behind than the fear of getting up there and, having my tummy pressed against that ribbon so that when they, I can go. I don't want to be way the fuck back there so I'm so behind I don't even get in the game. And these are things that you can have as comparative fears. And you can sort of like battle the fears within yourself and let the ones that get you moving win. So don't fear rejection as much as regret. Don't fear imperfection as much as never doing anything. And don't fear appearing as an imposter more than allowing your authentic self to be more comfortable. The more I put these out here with flaws, my hope is that down the line, maybe it'll be in 2 weeks, maybe it'll be in 3 months, maybe it'll be in 5 years, who knows? But at some point, I'm already looking back at the first videos that I made, and I'm saying to myself, God, Melissa, don't post those. But the reason I want to post them and post the journey of the raw piece of shit versions towards getting more and more polished is because I want to share that with you guys. I want to share it because I want to gift it to you so you can know that things can improve and you can believe in improvement. And if you track your own record of life, you can start to observe that you do in fact improve. In some areas, you improve faster than others, but improvement is inevitable. So just do it anyway. Do it anyway. Move through fear, move through imperfection, move through everything you need to, because it's in the moving through that we learn. And if your goal is improvement, as I think it is, I believe and I trust that that's your goal. If your goal is improvement, the best way to do it is to just get in the water and start swimming. Get on the track and start running. Get your ass to your mailbox. Okay, I feel like I shared a lot about myself and it's a little bit embarrassing for me, but I'm going to trump that with how strong my desire is to give you guys what I hope you can embrace in your own lives, so you can maybe avoid some of the mistakes that I made and some of the pain that I actually did go through before I got to where I am sitting here today. All right, have a great day, you guys. I am sorry that this was so long, but if you're still with me, hopefully it's meant something to you. God bless you. Talk to you later. Bye.